You're listening to the Play Pouch. Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our top 5, and this episode is going to be our 5 best games of 2023. And we should probably just jump right in. But before we do, if you like our podcasts, consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell and the thumbs up button, leaving a comment. Let us know what you think of the episode. So let's jump right in.
Well, before we start, Pete, just Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates it. This is
Yep.
going out on Christmas Eve, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
Santa's adorned his sleigh and is probably making his way out.
so you might be watching this on Xmas Eve or Xmas Day, or maybe you're watching it a couple of days afterwards. But yeah, Merry Christmas, and let's see what the good games were we played this year, Pete.
Yes.
You can go first, mate. You can start us off on this one.
All right. Well, this is going to be a bit of a shock to the system, I think, this number 5.
Okay.
Super Mario RPG.
That is a shock.
Yeah. I mean, like, this was just like, it was a superb remake. The original came out, God knows when. But they did the remake so well, and I really enjoyed. I'm not going to say I played it because I watched someone else go through the whole thing, and it was great fun. It really was just great fun.
And that's on the Switch, obviously, isn't it?
Yeah. The graphics were great. They really did a good job. And if you are a Super Mario lover, then RPG really is good. It's not really an RPG. It's not like epic. And then there's not really leveling up mechanics, so to speak, but it really is an interesting game.
I mean, I've not really played it, so I mean, I actually don't know much about it. So, what kind of is it? Like a turn-based RPG, or is it you just play as Mario? Or
it is a turn-based RPG thing because you attack and then someone attacks you and you attack in return. But Bowser's not the enemy in this one.
Okay.
So, which is kind of like a good thing as well. There's someone else, and Bowser ends up joining your crew.
So you've got your own party members, so like Princess Peach, and whatever.
Yeah, she ends up joining the little hussy, who probably just only because Bowser joined.
Yeah, she wants some Bowser love, doesn't she?
Yeah, she definitely needs it. But yeah, no, you go through all kinds of different lands and stuff, and yeah, it's a Mario game, but it's in sort of 3D or orthographical type of view, and yeah, it's not really much else to say about it. It is what it is. It's a Mario game, but they just remastered it really well. To be fair to them,
fair play. Okay, no, that did catch me off guard. I wasn't expecting to see that. A Nintendo game as well.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 5. There might be a lot of people who have not heard of this one. I suppose this is more an independent game, I suppose.
Uh-huh.
And it just about pipped my top 5. I had a couple of contenders. It's a game called Sea of Stars.
Okay.
It is a classical RPG in the same vein as the early Final Fantasies. Not Final Fantasy 7, we're going back further than that. The really early ones, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 4.
Right.
And the graphics are of a similar vein of that. It's a real throwback, I'd say, 90s JRPG.
Okay.
And just the reason it's so good is because of the amount of detail they've put into it. And the way it just literally, it's a retro game, but it's a retro game that's got quality. I wouldn't say it's a perfect game, but it does all the old cliches from probably when the JRPGs were probably at their peak or just coming into their peak.
Right.
But it's a really good game. There's two protagonists, and they go around hunting monsters and stuff like that. So it's not breaking any new ground. I'm not going to claim that it is. But when I played it, it kind of hooked me in a little bit. I haven't finished it, but it's the kind of game you can play for a little bit, and then I put it down and I go back to it.
Right.
It's not going to wow you like RPGs of today will, but that's not the point of the game. The point of the game is to be that kind of, I'm going to say a couple of names. Pete's going to be probably wondering what the hell are these, like Suikoden, stuff like that. Right. Games like that, Wild Arms, games like that, all these old kind of like JRPG series that mostly have all died out now. So it's a homage to that stuff.
Okay.
Called Sea of Stars, and certainly my favorite independent game. If we were to do a list of independents, it would be number one there. But no, just about getting into my top five. A little bit of a throwback game of
Right.
yesteryear, so a bit nostalgia for me. So yeah, that's my number five, Sea of Stars.
Okay. Yeah. No, the title is familiar to me, but no, I've not seen any gameplay for it or anything.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Um, all right. So my number four is Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Resident Evil 5.
Um, so okay, so I have thrown a bit of shame at this
You,
game.
you did throw a bit of it on our remakes
Yes.
podcast. I do remember you saying.
It's not. I mean, It's not like. It's not a terrible game. It's not a terrible remake, but in the translation from the original to this one, they've lost something, and I just don't know what that is. But the remake and the technicality behind it and the mechanics behind it, it's all solid, but it does sort of miss something, and I'm not quite sure what that is. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's too much graphics. Is the only thing I can sort of think about.
Too much graphics.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I'm talking about the sort of the first sort of hour of gameplay, really, with the original and then this one. With the original, you ended up going to this sort of field with some barns and stuff.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
There's no real thing like that anymore, which kind of like stunned me. It's not.
Really?
It's not a one for one remake.
They got rid of the start of the game with all the barns and everything. Then when you just like had look searching around.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is all just like a sort of a cloister. It's a long sort of like linear path, and I don't know. I guess that's fine, but it should open out onto areas, and it does. But it's really just sort of missing. It's missing some stuff. So yeah, but as I said, it is really just like it's a solid game. But it's just yeah.
It's on my list. It's on my list to play. I've bought it. I just haven't got around to playing it yet.
Yeah. Oh no, it's good. Don't get me wrong, but for me, casting my critical eye over it, I do notice a few sort of like things that, elements that seem to be missing. So yeah.
Okay. My number four, a little bit of maybe a surprise to you, Pete.
Hmm.
It is more of what I class as a co-op game. Of course, it can be played by yourself, but when I bought it alongside our friend Alan, it was to play co-op with. And it is Dead Island 2.
Okay.
Which we played much earlier in the year, and it is more of the same as Dead Island 1, but it's one of those things that if it's not broke, fix it. When you play those kind of games, you have fun with the combat and killing zombies, and that is the draw of the game. You're not going to play it for the wonderful characters because you're not going to get that. You're not going to play it for the wonderful story. But one thing that Dead Island 2 did really well is that the combat was solid, as it was in the first game. It's mostly melee combat.
Yeah.
And there's zombies, but then there's more powerful zombies. A little bit formulaic. Like I wouldn't say there was tons of innovation, but what Dead Island 2 did do really well is the setting. So it takes place in Los Angeles, and most of the people you deal with, most of the zombies you see are people dressed up in rich stuff, and you go around their houses and literally break everything. And it parodies a little bit of Los Angeles. And well, I'm not the biggest fan of Los Angeles personally. And to run around in that kind of setting and do the kind of things you can do in this game is pretty damn entertaining.
Right.
I won't lie. So even though, yes, it's a zombie game and that part isn't original and it doesn't innovate particularly in that genre, but it does the genre very well still. And it was a really fun co-op game, and me and Alan both enjoyed it, and we had a lot of laugh killing zombies and taking a piss out of all the Hollywood rich people, because that's kind of a big part of the game. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, look at what's happened to your Los Angeles now, right? It's all kind of in ruins, all these zombies going around. And no, it's quite fun, dude. It was a bit underrated, I think. I don't think that many people are probably going to remember it because it
Mm.
did come out very early in the year. But no, it was a really good co-op game. Single player, I don't know. It's more fun in co-op. It's that kind of game where it's not you're not going to get the same thing out of it by yourself. But running around with one of your mates, just killing zombies and like doing drop kicks into zombies and setting them on fire and coming up with all these elaborate ways to kill them, perversely entertaining, but entertaining nonetheless. So yeah, that was my number three.
Seems like a fitting demise for LA. I wonder if there's like a little Easter egg where you find an apartment somewhere and it turns out to be a certain YouTuber's stream
there
apartment.
is a streamer. There is a streamer in the game who you have to do missions for, and yeah, and the character, like I say, it's a parody of a YouTube streamer just trying to get hits. So
Yeah.
she films like zombies like killing other people and stuff like, and in the end she gets killed herself and she films it.
Uh,
Even though she's getting killed, she's happy because she gets her hits on as a streamer. But like I say, it's a parody, mate. That's the point. They take the piss, so it's quite fun in that way.
yeah.
You can't take a story seriously. Then again, you're not meant to. That's not why you play that game for, bruv.
Yeah.
No, not bad, not bad.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. Okay. My number three is Dead Space Remake.
Ah,
Yeah, this was great. I mean, again, very few of these games I've played, and I will sort of let you know the ones I have. But we have been watching the sort of the gameplay movies of these titles, so I have had a good view at Dead Space Remake, and it's really really nice. It's really tightly packed. It's really the graphics are really really well done, and it sort of honors the original in so many sort of different ways. Quality of life improvements, suitably scary. It's got that sort of mixture between what's that bloody game? It's like a real sort of like horror, sort of isolating game. I won't say Alien Isolation style,
yeah, yeah.
but it is. Yeah. I, it's suitable for people who like that kind of thing, and they're going to be so satisfied, and they were satisfied. So
It's on my list again. It's on my list to play because it's currently on Game Pass. In case anybody wants it,
yeah,
it is actually on Game Pass at the moment. So it's again, it's on my to do list. But no, I never played the original either, so I've heard nothing but good things about it. Um, but I
yeah.
haven't watched any videos on it.
I've never played the remake of the original either. So yeah, I mean, I might sort of give it a go at some point. Who knows? But I'm really mostly just going on the graphics here. They're just really well done.
No,
So
it looks quality, dude. Definitely looks quality.
yeah.
I just wish I would have got around to playing it, but there's a backlog. But no. Okay, so that's Dead Space remake. No, that's good.
Hmm.
My number three. I think this will shock you again, Pete, because I don't play these kind of games really that often. Street Fighter Six.
Street Fighter 6. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not a massive fighting game fan. I played Street Fighter 2 like most of the world did when I was a kid, and I did obsess about that. But it's not. I'm not somebody who buys the Street Fighter games every time. I played Street Fighter 2. I've probably played some of the turbo versions. I played Street Fighter 4 and didn't love that one.
Right.
Street Fighter 5 I didn't think was that great, but I'd heard some things about Street Fighter 6, and then I saw it going for quite a cheap price, about 25, and I thought, you know what? I haven't played a fighting game in years. And I've started playing Street Fighter 6 and it's bloody brilliant. And it's bloody brilliant because of a couple of massive innovations
Right.
that I just was not expecting. They've got a world tour mode which lets you create your fighter to be anything you want, and you can also upload your creations and download creations. So if you want like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is what I kind of have created,
Right.
um, the TV version, not the film version, just for the record. So and then you just run around and challenging people to fights, and then you can like learn moves and like learn your style, and it's got RPG elements like most games, but they've done it pretty well. I'm not going to tell you it's the most in-depth game ever. When I say you running around, I mean you run around small versions of cities. You know, it's not big play world maps or anything.
Right.
But no, the idea is just that you create a fighter from scratch and you level them up, and you kind of choose what their moveset's going to be, and you can learn special moves from all the well known fighters in the game, like from Chun Li and people like that.
Hmm.
But when I talk about innovation, that is innovation. But what really took me back that I was not expecting, and I did remember Jim Sterling, if people know who he is, talking about this many, many, many months ago when it came out. And that is that they've changed the controls. So if you're somebody who has memory issues, or just somebody who maybe is not the quickest when it comes to doing all the special moves, like when in the Street Fighter game down in Mortal Kombat, sometimes you have to do quite elaborate button presses
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
a row to do a special move. But what they've done is, and I can already hear that maybe hardcore fans going, "Oh, we hate this stuff." Well, that's fine because it's optional. That's the thing
Hmm.
that makes it great. You haven't got to use it. If you want to use the old system, you can do that. But what they've done is they've changed these special moves to one button presses if you want.
Okay.
So rather than having to do all these elaborate things, you can do special moves much more easily. And for the more casual fans, and I would include myself in that, who don't want to, who just aren't going to put that much time into it, you can do well and you can have so much more fun, but because you can do the special moves when you want to without having to remember all these elaborate button presses. I know, so I can already hear some people who are hardcore Street Fighter fans. I can already hear them screaming about how it's not legit and stuff. So I can already hear it. But for more players on the casual side, such as myself, it is fantastic. And I don't know why fighting games have not done this earlier.
I kind of can understand why, really. I mean,
It's optional. If you don't want to play that way, you haven't got to. It's
but
optional.
do they pit people against?
Well, I don't know. I'm not talking about the online stuff. I'm just talking about the solo stuff. I
Right.
didn't play the online. It's online PvP. I don't do that stuff, dude. So I'm just talking about the single player. Online stuff. I don't know. Online stuff. They might have an option where you can just challenge people who have only got certain control styles.
Hmm.
No, I can see it from some elitist kind of point of view that they think it's cheap. But if it's a single player game, who cares?
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. Yeah. I don't really have a problem with that, as you said. There will be people that do. So
Screw them.
yeah. Well, just go and play with your elitist chums then.
Well, no, that's fine. But so it's certainly my third best game because it really caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it really to be there, but no, I just had a lot of fun, and it's a game where you can pick up, have a couple of fights. It doesn't have in depth story or any of those kind of things. It's not that kind of game.
Hmm.
It's a pick up and play arcade game. But they've added the way that you can do the special moves. It's just much more fun, and you can feel like a badass and all those different things. And it's accessibility for, like I say, for people who have who don't have that kind of skill set, who can still enjoy the game to a certain degree. I still reckon that probably the hardcore players, if they play against a more casual player, they'll still beat them anyway because they're getting better at the game.
Yeah.
So I don't think it actually will affect stuff that much. It just lets people play the single player stuff in particular, how they, an easier way for them to play so that they can enjoy the game more. And I just thought that was a really cool feature that I wish would have been in earlier games. And as I said, it's an option. If you don't want it, we want more options in games, right?
Yeah.
So this game gives you options. That's why I think it's really good. If other fighting games start adopting it, then that would be really good. I think so anyway. So third in
All
my
right.
list.
Good. All right. Yeah. No. Good shout, that one. Okay. So moving on to our number twos. My number two is Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty.
Okay.
Right. So I have sort of started this a little bit, and the only reason why it's actually at my number two, if I'm going to be brutally honest, is that not only have CD Projekt Red turned this game around, they've decided to consistently update it. They've initially said that they weren't going to bring any more updates after Phantom Liberty, but they've sort of changed their mind, and they're now sort of providing more and more updates. Not the least of which is that they're providing the FSR3, which is AMD's frame generation technique, which is going to be. It was just released as open source, so everyone can enjoy it, even older systems. So that's going to buff my frames from fucking, whatever it was, it's chugging along at 40 frames roughly to 60 and beyond. So that aside, and the level of graphics now behind it is just the storyline of it is actually quite intriguing, and I can't wait to meet the detective Idris Elba. And yeah, I mean, like, it adds a new zone to the map, and it's fairly brutal. And I've yet to uncover some stuff, and I haven't watched other people playing the game, but I have started this myself, and yeah, I'm intrigued. It just expands it, the whole storyline, the main storyline. It adds more sort of weapons and cars and stuff like that. It's incorporated certain fan favorite mods into the game as well. They like doing that, I'm told. So yeah, they've really turned this game around, and it's a slight indication about how I feel about Cyberpunk now. So yeah.
Okay. I haven't played it
Mm.
at all, so I don't really know. All I can say is, obviously, I know the state it came out in. I'm glad that they have decided to try to make it up to the fans. Yeah, we can all argue that it should never been released that way, and I think that everybody knows that they deservedly took a lot of flack, rightfully so, because they did not release it
Yeah.
when it's ready as they claimed they would. So, but it sounds like they've at least tried to, in the essence of like what No Man's Sky did, is that they have tried to get it to a much playable state. Of course, I could be more cynical and say No Man's Sky has still done it all for free, and these guys, of course, they want money for this, so I can be cynical there. But still, some companies would have most likely just left it and not bothered. So at least they have tried to get the game back on track, so to speak. So fair play to them, I suppose. But no, I honestly haven't played it. Maybe if it's in a much better state now, maybe it's something I can look to play in the future to add to my backlog of other games.
Well, they've fixed it all without the update, so you can, not have the update, the DLC, and still enjoy a fixed,
They fixed
Cyberpunk.
have they fixed the cops?
Yes, they have. Yeah,
Okay, well that's
yeah.
something at least.
But they are a pain in the arse. But yeah, they have fixed
Do
them.
they still teleport in out of nowhere?
No, they
Okay.
they take some time to come, and they seem to sort of, it's more along the line of like GTA style cops
Yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, at least that's going in the. It sounds like it's going in the right direction, I guess.
yeah, well done them.
Fair play, CD Projekt Red. Now, can you get to making a Witcher 4, please? Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My number 2 is an older game, but this is when games were released for the systems we have. So this was released on the Xbox in January, so it does qualify for the record.
Right.
Monster Hunter Rise.
Okay.
Which obviously is the latest Monster Hunter game. Well, other than the DLC, but for the Xbox and the PlayStation, it only came in January of this year. A little bit out of the blue. It didn't actually have that much fanfare. I think me and Alan again, we were just looking for something to play, and it's like, oh, that's coming out on Game Pass. But I was a little bit dubious because it is a Switch game, so I knew that graphically it wasn't going to be to the level of Monster Hunter World, and I knew that most likely size-wise it wasn't going to be to the same with Monster Hunter World either. And it's not. It is a smaller game. I'd say it's a simpler game, but still it has very much the heart and the soul of the Monster Hunter series. It's got the same 13 weapons as Monster Hunter World. Most of them work the same way. There's a couple of new moves for each one, incorporating the new kind of movement in the game. Instead of do you remember the wire claw or whatever it used to be in Monster Hunter World, Pete, where you'd fire it on the monster and then you'd turn the monster's head and ram them into?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's not there anymore. I think it was called the clutch claw, wasn't it? So that's not there. Yeah, so that's not there anymore. They replaced it with something else, some like wire bug. which kind
Right.
of enhances and it's quite good. Every weapon's got about 2 new moves, but other than that, they play pretty similar. There's a lot of similar monsters. There is some of the normal ones that appear in most games. There's a couple of unique ones as well, and it is like a smaller version of Monster Hunter World. Do I think it's as good as Monster Hunter World? Probably not. But I thought Monster Hunter World was brilliant. So I thought Monster Hunter World was 9 out of 10 and everything like that as we did our review. I put 400 hours into Monster Hunter World. I didn't put 400 hours into Monster Hunter Rise because it's a smaller game.
Right.
But I still invested a decent amount, and me and Alan played it in co-op, and we put a lot of time into it as well, and still got a DLC to play, which that'll be coming up soon, hopefully. But no, it was my favorite co-op game, second favorite co-op game of the year, and just more of Monster Hunter World. It's just it's Monster Hunter World Light. It is. That's
Right.
what it is. But no, mate, it was really good. Just came on Game Pass, and you're just like, yeah, okay. So that took up a couple of months worth of game time. Yeah, so that's my number 2, Monster Hunter Rise.
Well, I've only just started it. I'm trying to catch up to you guys. I have a couple of issues with it already.
Okay.
Most of which cannot be broadcasted. So, but yeah, no, I am looking forward to sort of resharpening my skills, as it were, as a dual blades fighter.
Yeah.
I haven't even started trying playing with the insect glaive yet. But yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll see how a Monster Hunter Rise goes for me. Okay, so my number 1 is, I guess, my attempt at restoring, or should I say, acknowledging a game that really was kind of passed over during the Game Awards of this year. And that was...
Alan Wake 2.
No, bro. I can go take a running jump. Lies of P, or Lies of Pinocchio.
Okay.
Um,
That got one. I got one nomination, didn't it? And that was it.
no, it's disgusting the way they didn't. They definitely deserved art direction. So you basically play like a variant of a Pinocchio, a sort of a redesigned Pinocchio, and you have to go find Giuseppe, your maker, and then sort of do his bidding, if you like. And as you traverse these sort of worlds, it's all very sort of Victorian steampunky style, with automatons, and the automatons have gone insane, and you have to kind of work out why. And it's the best Souls like clone game that's out there, and I really do think that it should be added to the list of
You think it's better? You think it's
Soulsborne
better
games.
than Elden Ring?
Yeah,
No way, mate.
it is. Elden Ring is laughable, man. I can't believe Elden Ring. Elden Ring's all right, but it's just no. I think Lies of P is better. If
Okay.
you're going to do this kind of gameplay thing, this style, it's much better as a linear game as opposed to an open world game.
We'll have to leave that for another podcast, Pete, because we could go back and forth on that one. But Elden Ring didn't come out this year, so as far as it's concerned, I'd probably agree with you regarding Souls games that came out this year.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, it's just that, if you're going to give us an open world game, give us a fucking Journal. Stupid fucking... Oh, God. I sometimes really hate Miyazaki. He's so proud of himself. He just likes to jack off in a mirror. Anyway, that aside, I mean, like, he did bring some really good games, but it's just like, if it wasn't him, it would have been someone else. Do you know what I mean? It's not like an amazing sort of feat that he brought to the video games industry. It's just like, if it wasn't him, it was going to be someone else. Anyway, so yeah, Lies of P, just absolutely stunning. The lead model of Pinocchio is taken from Timothy Chalamet, who's very effeminate. But
got that right.
yeah, it is. It's just really, really nice. It's a good story. The ending's great, and yeah. Please go and play it if you're a fan of Dark Souls. That's my number 1.
Okay. Um, so my number one, it's meant to be a co-op game, and I am currently playing it with our mate Alan, but most of it I've played by myself solo. So this is why I think it's quite a good game, better than I think people realise, is because it's a really good single player game, and it can be played in co-op as well. And that's Remnant 2.
Okay.
Now I didn't play the first one. I'd heard about it and the way it did kind of some procedure generation stuff, but not in the same way as like a No Man's Sky or stuff or Starfield. It's not really like that, but there is elements of randomness to it. So the level generation, there's elements of randomness, but they're still kind of handcrafted. But it's just like in the some dungeons, for example, in the game will spawn and others dungeons won't spawn, and it's a little bit luck based. So to really see everything the game has to offer, you've probably got to play it through 3 or 4 times, which I did. I played it on every difficulty level, including like this really the hardest one where most things will kill you with one hit, and I persevered, and it was a really challenging game, and I managed to finish it all by myself. um, and it's kind of like, it's interesting you say about Lies of P about a Dark Souls game, because I consider it a bit like a Dark Souls game. The difference is that you can use guns, but there's also melee builds as well. And actually, the melee builds, especially in the harder levels, the melee builds are actually very potent. I more or less cleared the hardest difficulty using a lot of melee, other than on the bosses. So even though I wouldn't call it a Dark Souls exactly, because of the fact that there is a lot of guns, there are elements of it where the bosses can easily and do often one shot you, certainly two shot you, and that's pretty much all the bosses as well. So that reminds me of Dark Souls, and you need and dodging is so important in these games as well. So you get like iframes for your dodges as well, like that, right? So you need to be really sharp with your dodges. It's a very high skill, a very high, I suppose, skill caliber game. Like you
Hmm.
really do need to have a high skill level, which obviously you'll get if you play it enough. It's a very difficult game, a challenging game, generally a fair game, but like every game, there's a couple of bosses where it's like, well, that's a bit of a cheat mechanic. But that's in most games. But
Yeah.
honestly, mate, I know you haven't played it, but I would recommend it to you once you get your Game Pass and everything sorted out. It's on Game Pass, definitely worth playing. It's a really good game, single player and co-op.
Hmm.
And the fact that there's so much randomness means that no two playthroughs are ever the same. I mean, eventually you will see everything, but most games don't have the fact that you might have to play the game through 4 times in order to see everything.
Okay.
And the thing is, there's some things I've still never found. It's just like now I completed it on the hardest difficulty. I'm like, I'm a little bit reluctant to go through it again. But even with my 4 playthroughs that I did, there were still some things I never discovered, some things I never came across because of the randomness of the way the levels are generated.
Right.
So that is a good example of procedural generation stuff done really well. And
Yeah.
I actually think it's actually the best example I've seen so far of using procedurally generated stuff in one of these games.
Yeah.
This is where I think really that stuff really is good and can really make a game much more replayable. So yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely my the best game of the year. It's the game I put the most time into, because I spent a couple of months probably overall going through these 4 playthroughs and everything like that. And then I've ended up playing co-op as well with our friend Alan as well. So I've completed it in the single mode, and now I'm playing in co-op, and it's slightly different because the enemies react a bit differently and stuff like that when you've got somebody else there. So the gameplay is slightly different, and you have to kind of use slightly different tactics because the enemies react differently because there's 2 of you, stuff like that. So
Hmm. Okay. Sounds intriguing.
no, it's a really good game, and I'm certainly a fan of the series. So whenever the next one comes out, I think some DLC just came out for it recently, which I might
Okay.
look to get. But no, it's a really good one. Remnant 2. It's on Game Pass, and even when it wasn't on Game Pass, it still was a one of those AA titles. So it was like £35 rather than the full 60, which just tells you, doesn't it, that these lesser known, smaller games, even though it's not what I would call a small game at all, but from these lesser studios, can be just as good as the so called big boys,
Or if not better.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
yeah.
definitely seem to be gaining a lot more notice and traction, these indie games. Okay,
Yeah.
good. That's our 5 best games of the year. What are your best games of the year? Let us know in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you like our podcasts, please give us a subscribe and hit the notification bell and the thumbs up. And yeah, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And look out for our next top 5 episode, which is 5 most anticipated games of 2023.
Yeah,
I
last one
really,
of the year. Yeah.
I really wonder what's going to be our number one, and I wonder if it's going to be the same.
Shocking.
It's shocking,
Shocking.
yeah. If it's not, I'll be really fucking stunned. But
Yeah.
yeah, until then, we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Take care.